This is Fisherman Spring, and it's a pretty chilly spring just at the moment while we're filming here. But my name's David Brown, and we've been working with Margie Greavet-Shaw and working through some of the readings from Roderick Haig-Brown's series of books, especially the Four Seasons. So today I'm going to be doing some reading from Fisherman Spring. It's a little drizzly, as I said, and we'll start there. So this was actually published in 1951, and this is a 1975 edition. It's got a nice introduction, and I thought I'm going to read just mostly from the introduction. It's so descriptive, I think. And there was no preface to the 1951 edition, but this is the 1975. The fishermen's seasons are not that much different from those of any other outdoor observer, except that they are focused on water, rivers and lakes, ponds and streams, and the sea. In a world of great and varied beauty, nothing is more beautiful than water, especially moving water, as you can hear it in the background. I'm aware of the beauty of water frozen into glaciers and icebergs, their immensity and power, and the glorious lights that the sun can summon from them. I have again and again admired the breathless early morning calm on lakes, large and small, and the reflection of the hills around them. The power of ocean storms and the glory of ocean surf in sunlight have a magnificence beyond almost anything. Besides these splendors, the intimacy of a fisherman's river may seem a slight thing, yet I think that flowing water in all of its forms is most beautiful of all. And that's so Rod. There are large rivers and small rivers, rough rivers and quiet ones. I'm not thinking of the sweeping calm of the lower reaches of great rivers like the Fraser and the St. Lawrence, nor the wild fury of such places as Hell's Gate in the Fraser Canyon, though these places too have meaning for fishermen. I'm thinking chiefly of fly fishing streams, clear water, cool water streams, not too large and formidable for intimacy. Every fisherman has several of these in his mind and memory. They are special places, and he knows the cycles of their seasons. Perhaps the seasons are no more strongly marked along the streams than anywhere else. And this is why we're doing what we're doing. They are so marked here along the Campbell River. Plant growth springs, flourishes, falls into dormancy everywhere. The different birds come and go. The earth is warm or cold. Cold right at the moment. There's snowfall and freeze up. Actually, it snowed last night. Snow melt and the new warmth of the new season's run in Central Park or on city streets, in farmland or woodland, as well as along streams. I think there is a special intensity. I like that. But along streams, I think there is a special intensity. Life concentrates there. Successions and contrasts are more dramatic. Insect life is especially rich and summons other life in its abundance. Nothing is more sharply and obviously seasonal than the runs of andromedous fish, especially the salmons. And these two bring other life to focus in the streams. Even in winter, so long as there is open water, there is life about the streams and in them too. And this last paragraph of the introduction is so powerful for me. Whether or not a fisherman's seasons are more blessed than those of others matters little. Certainly these contain life and change and excitement enough to fill many books, which they have. So these are 4 books of one fisherman's seasons, originally written and published over 10 or 12 years of seasons, and now returned to print in a single year. So as I was saying, he wrote them in the 50s and they were published in 1975. They could be written again, and undoubtedly will be, by other fishermen of other seasons, for there are always new ways of seeing, new ways of remembering, and new ways of telling about it all. One hopes only that the seasons themselves will not change, nor the waters that respond to them. So that's a nice, and he has 33 stories, if you like, or chapters in this particular one. And there's one here, if you ever buy this book or read it, you've got to read the one about the family sortie, where they go on a picnic, and he writes about, I'll read one paragraph out of it, actually. One of the least efficient and one of the happiest ways to go fishing is to take a rod along on the family picnic. It is best to go to a lake or the sea rather than a stream. Stream fishing is too attractive and challenging, too likely to separate the family and destroy the easygoing effect. And on this particular one, he took all of the kids, and of course they got into the water and they all had to go for a swim. And very interesting, he writes a little bit about a turkey vulture, and we often see turkey vultures here up and down the Island Highway. And it's really neat the way he's described it. Interesting bird. Big part of the brain because they can smell their prey. And then they watched a beaver and they did other things. Anyway, so let's shift over to another one here. And as I said, we've done Fisherman's Summer and Fisherman's Winter. And of course, the other one is Fisherman's Spring. Now, Fisherman's Winter, by the way, was mostly about Chile and Argentina. It was really fascinating, and we talked about that in one of our last programs. So let's see what we've got here. I like this one. It's called A River Never Sleeps, and it's so, I don't know, it's so prophetic about the Campbell River or any particular river. So I'll pick a bit of reading from here. Yeah, I picked this one because it's about Rod and Ann again, and when Ann and I first decided to get married, we did not worry greatly about where we should live in or how. In Canada, we knew, and not in a city. The rest would take care of itself, and after all, the first place need not be the last, and people always found places to live. Since our freedom of choice was practically unlimited by any other factor, it seemed sensible enough to look for a place in good hunting and fishing country. Years of living with prospectors and trappers and stump ranchers had even persuaded me there was good economic reason for doing so, and I had known more than one household where regular visits to the butcher shop were considered outright self-indulgence, bordering on immorality when there was meat to be found in the woods and the streams. I'm not quite sure now whether I had actually adopted this belief myself, or whether it was convenient to have an economic justification for hunting and fishing. But I know for a long while I reckoned an empty larder the signal to go and look out a rod or a rifle. And so Rod basically did live off the land. Just a quick finish to this. Wanted to mention something about Van Egan and his writings, because Van and I worked together for 20 years at Kerry High in biology, and he was a writer in his own way. And Van and Rod, of course, are very good friends. Rod was the best man at Van's wedding. There's one of Van's books, A History of the Tyee, beautiful one. I could never convince Van to use a word processor. He typed away on his Underwood in his front room overlooking the river. This was his first book, called Rivers of My Mind. And this one here is Waterside Reflections. That was his first publication. Very gentle man. I really like working with Van. And lastly, Shadows of the Western Angler. And Van lived very close to Rod and Ann, and they were very good friends. They, as I said earlier, they would often spend a lot of time in the study and sit over a glass of scotch and talk about things, and that was a very good relationship as well. So anyway, that brings to an end this portion of our readings, and I hope that you have enjoyed them as well. So I think that should do it. Of course, I mentioned this one before, Deep Currents. That's a nice summary of writings, as well as Measure of the Year. Measure of the Year is just, I think it's probably my favorite because I'm not a real fisherman. So I'll leave you with that. This is a lovely story about, also a lot about Mrs. Haig-Brown as well. So there we go.